Sure. Going back into way past, I still remember at Hopkins, many a nights and many a mornings. In fact, I would have FedEx to me from Amsterdam stool samples. So sometimes I tell people I have a really shitty job, and it was I would have to emulsify stool samples and then cancer early. And it was I worked on early cancer detection in a couple of different cancers. We worked with some types of blood cancer, so myelodysplastic syndrome, AML, but also things like lung cancer, colon cancer, and breast cancer. But part of what we were looking at was using and trying to find epigenetic biomarkers to help be predictive for early stage detection. And in my thesis, I did have a chapter about what does this all mean? And as I thought about it back then, many, many years ago, of what would it look like for this to be a company, what always haunted me was, okay, Dennis gets a test from me today, and I tell him that he has a 93% chance of developing colon cancer. Like, one, how representative is this in the real world? And two, what does he do about it? And that has changed a lot since my PhD days to where it stands today. So how has it changed? Let's go there. One, and I hope everyone listening to this will write this down as you invest in anything in the cancer world. Cancer is a complex disease. You cannot use a simple approach of just using epigenetics by itself to truly be able to predict all types of cancers and detect them early. It's just really difficult. I don't think it will ever happen with just using one modality. So that's the first aha and takeaway. The second is the fact that back then, diagnostics itself was very not sexy. It was really hard to get people to even pay attention to if you're building anything in the world of diagnostics. I think it has taken a few big wins, and there are players and companies that have gone public with their diagnostic technologies for people to say, okay, there is really, why are we still doing it in this old school way when we can actually find something early, and the cost burden to the system is reduced by Y amount of dollars, and you're actually extending lives by Z years. So, hey, that's changed. That's number two. The third is, I think that just the approach of using AI and machine learning to make this better, I think has also accelerated bringing really worthy diagnostics to market. We're proud to support, to me, when I look at Freenome, part of it is hey, if it works, you truly are. I mean, think about recently, even we just lost someone who was 43 years old, the star from Black Panther, to colorectal cancer, and something which I wish we'd caught early. I wish it was a simple diagnostic that could be in the hands of everyone, where we all get screened. And if it is diagnosed early, there is a good chance that it can be treated and you will be okay. And so what Freenome did, why this fits in really well, is it takes care of some of my challenges from the past life. One, they do recognize from the start that cancer is a complex disease, and they use a multi-omics approach for diagnosing and detecting cancer early and screening. So that's the first. The second is the fact that you can do something about it. Even if you find that there is early, you may then ask the same patient to get another colonoscopy. You try and find something perhaps early, and then you treat them early, thereby extending life, which I think is brilliant. And third, I think, is the team itself is absolutely brilliant. They've done such a good job. We go back into the team of tackling the world of tech bio. This team does have the technical chops in both computer science and medicine of being able to do it, and they have the data to show for it. And so I think that's what makes it a compelling case. And fast forward many years later, as you look at this category at large, it's still baffling and puzzling that we don't have better tests out there that have, hey, little pause from talking about cancer and let's talk about even COVID for a second. There are over 300 diagnostic tests that have been approved for EUA or any regulatory stamp for COVID diagnostics. 99% of these tests are PCR based. Let's think about that. Why are we still, we've moved past it. We have sequencing. We have all these better technologies, and we're still using PCR from the 80s and the 90s as still, yes, I'm sure we can all still use a bicycle to go from New York to San Francisco, but I'm happy that there are planes and trains and better ways of doing it. And I still think that there are some parts diagnostics being one, where we're still stuck in two different worlds. There is this promise of like the Freenome and the companies in that world, which can really bring us those airplanes that much needed to change the way we think about diagnostics. And hey, at the same time, the system sometimes tries to get us to say, but you could still walk, but you could still bike. And hopefully that'll change in the next 3 years and it'll impact all our lives very positively.